Devastation was alive in the dust that clogged the air and the cries among the collapsed buildings and roads. The earthquake had wreaked havoc, rumbling with a few seconds of warning before the earth began to crack. Eijiro, Katsuki, and Yu were off duty, enjoying a long-awaited date when the earthquake began. No uniforms and no backup. Yu, Dynamite, and Red Riot sprang into action and began to evacuate as many citizens as you could reach. It was difficult, with Eijiro's quirk being meant for defense and Katsuki's quirk to destroy. Yours, while it had its uses, was not ideal for rescue either. Thankfully, a call to the agency had the real rescue heroes bursting into the scene. Heroes like Uravati and Froppy. And then, the job got a bit easier. Leaving the heavy lifting to them, you, Red Riot, and Dynamite pick up the slack, finding stragglers in the rubble. If I find motherfucking nature, I'm gonna punch her in the face, Katsuki muttered into the earpiece, given to them by the first responders. You can't hit a woman, Katsuki, Eijiro chided. You hum in thought. I'd say he can't hit someone weaker than him. I'm pretty sure I saw you punch Mina the other day. Katsuki grumbled. Then I'd never get to hit anyone. As Eijiro sputtered in defense. We were sparring. I didn't mean to hit her in the face. You laughed softly. Yeah. Remembering how Mina had discussed how the purple bruise sort of looked like blush for her pink skin, and proceeded to dab purple lipstick on her other cheek to complete the look. I'm a little with Katsuki though. I was enjoying our date, you say ruefully. Eijiro sighed. Yeah, me too, but... Hello? It's okay now. I'm Red Riot. I'm going to get you out of here. Just hang on. There was shuffling before Eijiro said, I'm heading back to the shelter. I think this is the last guy here. Okay? See you, Red. Be careful. Will do, he said cheerfully before turning off his comm. Katsuki, you still there? You call to the static? This is fucking boring. His agitated voice comes through. It's not so boring for someone who might be trapped and genuinely needs a hero, you scold. Fuck you. I know that. Just clear your area and head back if you're so bored, you say exasperated. Katsuki clicked his tongue. No. You know why he'd rather be doing something than sitting back with the rescues. For as boring as playing search and rescue was for Katsuki, doing nothing when people may be hurt went against the inbred, visceral need to help every last person that they could help. Please, is someone there? Came a small voice in a destroyed alley to your left. Hey, I'm here, you collared in assurance. I'm coming to you. You followed the voice, sifting through the debris to the tiny person hidden underneath, a little girl with short dark hair and scared brown eyes. Hi there. Are you hurt? You ask, smiling automatically through the worry for the little one. My leg, she choked out. You eye the small leg trapped under a large rock. You thank Katsuki for forcing those extra weights into your workout routine then. I'm gonna get you out of here. Can you be a brave little girl for me? Yeah. Great. You quickly settle onto your feet in a wide stance and pull the large piece of concrete off her. Thankfully, it wasn't too big to lift. The girl whimpers, and you coo. You're doing great, sweetheart. You crouch down, examining her leg. You bit your lip. You'd used up most of your supplies given to you by the first responders already. You look around, trying to find something sturdy to bind the broken leg to. Is that your backpack? She looks over. Yeah, I was on my way from school. You mind if I... She shook her head. And you look into the purple bag. Bingo. Books. If your teacher asks why you didn't do your homework, you can say a hero stole your math book. Got it? The girl paid you a wobbly smile. Good idea. You quickly bind 2 thin books around her leg with a little bit of bandage you have left over and hope it'll keep the bone from shifting too much. All right, I'm going to have to carry you back to the shelter. Put your arms around me, sweetheart. She balances her arms on your shoulders and you wrap a hand securely around her back. Then swoop her into your chest smoothly. The little girl clings to your neck, whimpering softly. You ran a hand down her back, assuring her, it's gonna be all right now. You're doing great. Keep that up for me. A dragging sound catches your attention. You whip your head in its direction. Across the street, a man is wobbling along the crosswalk, dragging his feet like there were weights attached. He's swiveling his head in all directions, seeming lost. You call out to him, Sir? Sir, are you injured? The man's head snaps to yours. His eyes are pupilless, filled with a muddy brown. You tried not to be unnerved by them. In this day and age, quirks affected your appearance in unpredictable ways, and it was hardly ever a reflection of the person beneath. Sir, please follow me back to the shelter. The man tilted his head in an almost 90-degree angle. You were surprised his neck didn't snap. You escaped, he croaked. I'm sorry, you asked, resisting the urge to step back. We cannot have escapees, he said. His face was blank. Then the ground surged. A great tidal wave of tar and concrete upended the street, lifting high as you've heard the ocean's waves could reach, and then slapped down. The impact thundered, the jarring vibration rattling your bones. Then a lightning bolt began on the surface of the ground, expanding, swallowing the surface, and heading straight for you. You bolt, with the girl in your arms, realizing too late that you'd paused too long. The earthquake that had devastated a good portion of the city was not an accident. You tapped the earpiece with your free hand, clutching the girl tightly with the other. Katsuki! You dare to glance back at the crumbling ground, the surrounding buildings falling victim to its force. Your heart pounded from how close it was. You felt like prey running from the impending destruction, like he was a mindless predator. What happened? Katsuki answered immediately. I need you. Ping my location, you pant, hoping it was clear enough to hear. The girl in your arms cried, It's getting closer. It's gonna be okay, you try to say. I promise, it won't get you. Katsuki! I'm on my way, goddammit. You run, thankful there was still solid ground for you to run on. By the time you saw Katsuki exploding his way to you, the destruction was creeping up to your heels. You glanced down, the ground quite literally falling apart. Then back at Katsuki. Shit. You shout, hoping he heard you. She has a broken leg. You tossed the girl into the air, screaming, Go! And then you fell. Katsuki almost froze as he watched you disappear from his sight. His breath caught in his lungs, and then instinct took over. Katsuki's trajectory placed him just in line to snatch the girl from her descent, landing on the ground seconds before the ground ate away, and then sprinted off. He had no time to think about what just happened, only that if he wasn't fast enough, his girl would die, and so would he. The destruction was catching up, rapidly destroying everything in its wake. Katsuki hefted the girl onto one arm, trying to center the extra weight. He threw an arm behind him and detonated his hand. Katsuki jumped, letting the explosion propel them forward. The girl in his arms cried, but he couldn't stop. Didn't stop. Until the shelter came into view. Only then did he chance a glance behind him to find that there was no destruction. No sounds of rumbling earth. He couldn't even tell how far he'd run or when the destruction had stopped coming after them. He struggled to breathe, his explosions still ringing in his ears. He could barely acknowledge the EMT that took the sobbing girl from his hands. Katsuki! Katsuki! Katsuki's head snapped up. Eijiro stood before him, his hand shaking his shoulder and worry swimming in his eyes. What's wrong? He asked. What happened? Where's Pebble? The mention of you pierced his stubborn like a bath of icy water. He turned on his heels, following his first instinct, to lie, because as tough as Eijiro was on the outside, his heart was too soft, too gentle. Fear raced through him, and he didn't want to condemn Eijiro to that fate. When there was a possibility that you were fine, he prayed for that possibility. I don't know, I'm gonna go look. Katsuki blasted off the ground, feeling the imbalance of his one arm's overuse and painfully ignoring it. That, and Eijiro shouting his name. Katsuki followed the path of destruction. Running away, he hadn't had the luxury of looking behind him. He could see everything now, flying high above it. How the buildings were crumbling, concrete and metal spilling from their sides. Someone's business or home reduced to rocks and dust. The streets were torn apart, any signage buried, making everything look like one whole, monotonous hell. Katsuki struggled for any bit of familiarity, to try to remember the street he left you on, and those words resounded in his head, pounding on the inside of his skull. The street he'd left you on. Katsuki faltered, his explosion stopping in mid-air, and he fell from the sky. He collided with the metal awning, the metallic ringing sounding harshly in his ear, before the unstable structure collapsed under his weight. Katsuki hastily righted himself, swatting away the dust drying his tongue. There's no time for this, he berated himself, taking off into the air once again. He attempted to ping your location for what felt like the 1,000th time. The device buffered, and Katsuki had to resist the urge to throw it. Then, multiple beeps saying to Katsuki, he didn't even pause long enough to feel relief. He was off, exploding towards the beacon and landing amongst the dirt. His red eyes flicking desperately over the ravaged landscape of debris, chunks of road and rock, and found no human life. This makes no fucking sense, Katsuki seethed, kicking a stray stone, then honed in on a flashing blue light. Just a meter or two ahead of him, your earpiece with the locator. Shit, Katsuki growled, picking up the equipment and crushing it in his hand. He screamed in frustration. Hey dumbass, you better not be dead. I will find a way to come and drag you back to life so I can kill you. Katsuki stomped off in a random direction, searching on foot. If the earpiece was here, you couldn't be far. Oi, you better not be keeping quiet to make this harder for me. This isn't hide and seek, idiot. Even if it was, I'd win. I'm going to find you. With every second that passed, Katsuki grew more and more aggravated. Oi, you just gonna give up? Where the fuck are you? Katsuki spun on his heels, choosing a direction at random, with no crumb of evidence that you were here or that you were alive. The uncertainty began to seep in where he built a dam against it. Then he heard it, a whisper, so soft it could have been mistaken for the wind. Katsuki? Katsuki whipped around, trying to find the source, straining his ears against the silence. Katsuki was running towards the soft call, finding that you were not far. The echo of his feet hadn't even relayed the sound yet. Hours after this event, he'd be ashamed that he'd even paused, that he'd taken those 2 seconds, staring at your body while it lay punctured by 2 metal braces, with a huge rock balancing precariously atop. And your voice, raspy and strained, calling out for them. Cuts! You weren't even looking at him, calling almost mindlessly at the sky, unmoving and face smooth, like you'd accepted your fate. Fuck that. Oi, I'm here. Katsuki moved, darting to your side. I'm here. You shift your eyes to him. They were glassy, unfocused, and you smiled faintly, like this was a pleasant dream. You're here, you stated. Is he? Back at the shelter. I didn't tell him, Katsuki said, clipped, as he leaned forward to assess the wounds. The piece of debris looked like one of those well-kept lollipop trees, but made of building materials, and hosting a second trunk, and it was planted right in your torso, one at your lower stomach, and one nestled at your ribs, uncomfortably close to your heart. Katsuki knew better than to try and remove it, or destroy the rock. The wound could be torn from the force, and made worse. You'd bleed out before he could get you back. There was already too much blood, staining your casual clothes, amongst the dust and a few pebbles that were on you, the red mixed with the dust, like texture paint. Katsuki tapped his earpiece to send straight to the rescue heroes. Get your dumbasses here now. Firework is shit. Hey, wake the fuck up. You squeeze your eyes shut before gradually blinking them open. The action would have been endearing on any other day that you've done it, in the comfort and safety of their bedroom, but this was far from that. You stay the fuck awake until they get you, Katsuki ordered. Dynamite, can you give us a rundown of their injuries? Katsuki scanned your body for any injuries other than the 2 metal pieces stuck in you. 2 metal bars, penetrating their lower and upper body. Nothing else that can be seen. There's this big rock on the bars, the size of a fucking mailbox. Okay, try to keep them awake. We're sending Ravage and a few paramedics. Please do not attempt to move them or extract the bars. No shit. Be fast, he said, before signing out. Cuts? Sky's pretty, huh? Katsuki slumped into a sitting position, right at your head. His fingers itched to reach out and place you on his lap, but refrained. Any movement was bad movement. It's the fucking same as always. Nah, it's prettier, you slurred. Your eyes drooped. Oi, Katsuki shouted, working through the little heart attack that happened each time you closed your eyes. You snap your eyes open, gasping. Fuck, that hurts. That means you're still alive. You shoot him a side eye, a small glare. Shut up. Then glance at the concrete tree. Never thought the spiral thing would do me in. Katsuki's eyebrows furrowed. Spiral thingies? The fuck is that? The thing, you say. In me. Katsuki facepalmed. The rebar? That's what it's called? Yes. Everyone knows that, Katsuki huffed. You pout. Bet he doesn't know. Katsuki rolled his eyes. That's because both my partners are dumb as fuck. Mean. I could die, and that's the last thing. You're not dying, Katsuki shrieked suddenly, louder than he needed to. You smile lightly, sadly. Stop that right now, Katsuki yelled. Cat, you say, trying for evenness. It hurts. I can barely breathe. A tear slips from your eye. I don't want this, but I need you to... To what? Katsuki demands furiously. To accept that you're being a complete weakling right now? You're not fucking dying, dumbass. End of story. Blinking away tears, you say, still smiling. You know I love you, right? Katsuki leaped onto his feet because it was too painful. The very idea of you dying, and worse, the way you sounded too ready to welcome death. Stop it. Will you tell E for me that I love him? Katsuki yelled, ignoring the burn in his own throat. I won't. Did you fucking hear me? I won't tell him. Katsuki fell onto his knees, the impact jarring at his feet. So stay the fuck alive and tell him yourself. You sniffle, a tear falling from your eye. Okay. I hear you. Just, I gotta tell you something important. No, save it for when you get out of this mess, Katsuki grumbles. Katsuki, I can't. This is really, really important. Oh, for fuck's sake, just spit it out. E ate your spicy noodles and then threw it away because they were literally killing him. I covered for him. Katsuki stared for a long moment before he smacked his palm to his face. He huffed out a laugh. You're fucking ridiculous. That was followed by hysterical laughter. Fucking ridiculous. I am going to kill him. And you. You were smiling, with no energy to join your boyfriend's laughter. Better you than this. The somberness returned to the mood instantly. That's not funny. Sorry, you say, genuinely contrite for ruining his jovialness. Now you got another reason to live, dumbass. Live long enough for me to kill you. Over spicy ramen? That you and E wasted. Couldn't even appreciate the flavor. Katsuki. The flavor was volcano. You're exaggerating. Hello? Dynamite? Bakugou, can you hear me? The stress melted off Katsuki, and he shouted his reply. Hey, round cheeks, over here. Told you were going to make it, idiot. You managed a smile of amusement, but Katsuki could see the hope relight in your eyes. Barely a few seconds passed before Uravati, in her pink and black hero suit, barreled to you and Katsuki, followed by a small group of paramedics. Ochako huffed. Finally, we found you both. The paramedics rushed to your side, assessing the damage done. We can't move this. We'll have to wait until we get to the hospital, and we're able to do a transfusion for the blood loss. Uravati, do you think you could lift both this hero and the rock at the same time, so they don't get separated? That I can. Ochako sends a reassuring smile to Katsuki and a wink to you, before touching both you and the chunk of concrete with her glowing hand. The paramedic ordered Katsuki to hold under you to ensure you don't slip from the rebar, and he held onto the rock to ensure it didn't shift. All right, we're going to move slowly and make our way to the ambulance. They did, with Katsuki's reassuring hand under you. Every breath was like razors cutting you from the inside, but you hold on to the little bit of feeling. As Katsuki said, if you could feel pain, you were still alive. Slowly but surely, you all made it to the ambulance, where a man with brighter hair than said vehicle was anxiously waiting. When Eijiro caught sight of you, he ran over. Katsuki yelled a warning. Oi, watch it! Eijiro rounded him, coming to your face. Oh my word, what happened? Are you okay? How long have you been like this? Katsuki, why didn't you let me come with you? The words came out rushed, with nary a breath, and paved with anxiety. You smile at the antics. I'm K.E. Katsuki. Probably didn't want you to worry. E turned an angry but anxious eye to you. I'm both of your partners. Katsuki, you should have told me if you knew something happened to them. You would have slowed me down, Katsuki grumbled. I wasn't sure what happened, so I wanted to get there fast. Well, then, you say, struggling a bit with the slight shift of metal. Katsuki and Eijiro's head both fall to you. Katsuki says first, annoyed, why didn't you tell me sooner? You avoid the intense gaze. Didn't want you to leave me. I didn't want to die alone. Eijiro's eyes turned fiery, an intensity that they rarely were. He said firmly, no one is dying. Katsuki glared. Agreed. And we'll talk about this later. Yeah, you say sheepishly. The small team maneuvered you into the ambulance safely. Then, the paramedic, seeming to be in charge, said, all right, set them down on the stretcher, as slow as you can. The paramedic pushed the piece of rock down, while Eijiro and Katsuki held you low to the stretcher. Okay, Ururavati, the paramedic said. Release your quirk. Ochako was outside the ambulance, preparing to leave. She muttered a quick release, and you cried out in pain as your back hit the stretcher. Once its gravity returned, the chunk of concrete tilted, Eijiro reaching for it, a look of horror dawning on him when it moved past his hand. The rock thumped onto the metallic floor of the van. There was a monstrous pause, as Katsuki and Eijiro stared at the piece of debris. The metal uprooted from your torso and coated in blood. Then the paramedics spurred into action, shoving a stunned Katsuki and Eijiro away from you. You were crying, the gaping wounds burning like a branding iron had been thrust into you, rather than something being wrenched out. The world around you was a blur of movement through your tears and agony, and you knew you were not going to make it. You could hear things through your pain, feel hints of touches, negligible, amongst the torment of your wounds. The misery had formed a fog around your other senses, and you struggled to make sense of your surroundings, or what was happening. Through the fog you could hear yelling. Tell her to get here now, they're bleeding out. Sirs, move out of the way. And the fog began to swim over your pain, dulling the feeling and replacing it with the sense of floating. You felt it, the end, how the curtains started their close on your vision, and you panicked. You called desperately, almost blindly. Hey, Katsuki, Eishi. They need to calm down, someone shouted. Hey, Pebble, we're here. Your head dropped on its side, making out the smudges of Eijiro's red hair. His face blurred into and out of focus. It pained you to hear the tears in his voice. Just hang on a little longer, okay? They're getting someone to help. Just hang on. Ochako's almost back. The words passed through the fog like everything else, with little real comprehension. By now, you were miles away. Only an inch remained, an inkling of thought, a demand that prodded you into fighting for a few more seconds of consciousness. To fulfill it, Katsuki had told you, tell him yourself. Eijiro, I love you. You struggle out. You could only hope he heard, that he felt. You lift your head with difficulty, searching for blonde, and landing on it just behind Eijiro. Katsuki came into focus for a moment. You've never seen him so still, so ashen. Only his chest moved rapidly, a harsh rise and fall. The dull energy you scraped together was rushing away from you. The curtain sped along their rails, but you tried to smile weakly, wanting to ease his anxiety in your final moments. Told him, wait, and the curtains shut.